Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. We in the building. Be down with us tonight at 804-402-2893 to be part of the flagship show. Heard right here, live from the den of Legacy Internet Radio. If you want to be down with us tonight, call us at 804-402-2893. That is the number to be a part of the discussion tonight. We got a high one. We got a big one. We appreciate everybody who is listening to us tonight. Thank you to those folks that are listening to us on TuneIn. Thank you to those folks that are listening to us on Streamer. We appreciate those folks that are listening to the replays right now on YouTube in podcast formats because you guys continue to show us love every single week. It's why we come back every single week and do this show. So we appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got a lot to get to tonight, and so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to introduce my guest for tonight, our sister D. She's a retired teacher administrator, limousine chauffeur. She's worked in the TV industry as a publicist, and she is a Virginia State University alum. It is my pleasure to introduce our sister D tonight. She's been with us here on Legacy Internet Radio on Enliven Radio, hosted by Mr. LP Steven Sykes on Tuesdays. What's up, D? How you doing, sis?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Marcus J.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good.
You doing all right?
Yeah.
It's good to see you across the table.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. We're gonna go around the room and continue our salutations so that we can get the crew introduced here tonight. This brother, he's somebody that I've known for a while. I appreciate seeing him here. He is the former executive director of the Virginia State Conference NAACP. He is currently the senior. He is the senior consultant and president of the Commonwealth Consultation LLC. He's got over 30 years of service to our Virginia service here. Our brother King Salim Kalfani is here. How you doing, brother?
I'm the Big Daddy Kane. Ain't no half stepping.
How you doing, brother?
Man, I love it, brother. I love it. I'm glad to be here. Luta continua. The struggle continues. Let's get free, RBG, and all like that.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining us here tonight, man. I've admired you and your work for a while, so I appreciate. Got a little bit flustered introducing you. That's just me being a little bit excited to have you here. So I appreciate you being here. This brother, of course, on my right, I don't even know if he deserves an introduction, but I'm gonna give it to him anyway. He's my brother. He's my partner. He's my friend. Y'all hear him every single first Monday, but it ain't the first Monday.
I got places to
It's
be.
the fifth Monday. I ain't ready for you yet. I ain't said your name. You ready for me to say your name?
Whenever you ready.
His name is Big Rude.
Yo.
I said his name is Big Rude.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling.
It's good to see you, man.
Ah, man, it's a great day in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's a great day after the victory over the New York Giants.
Here we go, man.
First place Washington Redskins represent.
Caring about none of that.
I mean,
when we said top sports stories of the week, that's like the old ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Like now we try to empower the neighborhoods, empower the city, and empower the state and the people. We want to talk about real issues. We don't want to talk about no piddly football game.
Only because your boys lost. It's piddly because your boys lost.
It's a football game, man.
I mean,
we don't want to talk about
what you want. I mean, if we were talking about that catch from Odell Beckham Jr.,
we lost the game, man.
Was off the chain catch, by the way.
The catch don't matter.
I mean, you're right. It doesn't.
The catch don't matter.
It makes it look good, though.
I mean, ask Abraham Lincoln how the play was. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
I do have to say before we continue on.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I don't want to talk about
They had to make up for after what they did Thursday, man. I don't know if you noticed what the Redskins organization did on Thursday, but they possibly did the dumbest thing they could have done.
I don't pay enough attention to the Redskins to even know.
So, I mean, yeah, but it made like nationwide news, of course.
Did you hear what I just said?
Because, of course, Thursday was Thanksgiving. So, of course, somebody who's so brilliant in Washington decided, hey, let's send out a tweet saying Happy Thanksgiving with the Redskins logo on it.
I did see that.
Really?
I did
really?
see that. I did see that.
I mean, what brainchild came up with that?
I did see that.
I mean, it got trolled so hard.
Yeah, I did see that.
It was so bad.
So it was basically, for those folks who not sure what we talking about, their Washington football team had a logo. You know what their logo is. You know what the name of their team is. I usually make a point of not saying that out of respect.
I mean, that's fine.
But they tweeted the logo with Happy Thanksgiving under it, and you know what their logo is.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, Brother Calfani, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, man? I don't know if you saw it, but if you did, what do you think?
Well, I didn't, and I'm pretty glad I didn't. I think Danny the Billionaire Boy Snyder is a cat, and his saying that the name will never change is that he's going to be proven wrong, and I just think that kind of arrogance and disrespect for people's culture is just anathema in 2015. But it is what it is, and at this point in time, we can't change it because we don't really want to change it. If we wanted to, we could get change.
And I can dig it, and I see where you're going. We're going to definitely get into that thought process as we get into the show. But at this time, before I go further, I want to go ahead and introduce my sister, who is joining the show. She's my co-host. She's our co-host. She's my big sis, and she's yours. This is S.Y. Well, what's up, baby?
What's up, baby?
How you doing?
Ain't nothing but chicken wine.
It's good to see you over there, man.
What's up, y'all?
I'm glad to have you. I'm sure the crew is glad to have you. I see when you came in, you brought in a ray of sunshine with you.
Because she saw me.
It was you?
It was me. It won't you?
No, I know it ain't me because I'm under no illusions about my,
sexiness.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but it was Ruben tonight.
I don't even have on tinted glasses tonight. Yeah, it was Ruben tonight. There's no tint here. There's no tint.
That's all right. You're still sexy, baby.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, let's get into the show. A lot of times what I like to start the show with is headlines, and I'll go and I'll kind of read some headline from some news station and something like that. I don't want to do that tonight. I know a lot of folks have been watching the news, so you already know where I'm going. I want to talk about Chicago. I want to talk about the killing of Laquan McDonald. I want to talk about the things that are going on in Chicago and how it affects everybody. Laquan McDonald was the young brother who, 17 years old, in Chicago. This is in October of 2014. Where he, let's keep it real, had a knife, he's walking down the street, he's acting erratically. The police happen upon him as he's walking away from the police. They jump out of the car. The first officer out of the car opens up his gun, shoots him. Once Laquan McDonald drops to the ground, the officer comes up on him. He continues to shoot him, empties out his clip, and the last bullet goes into young Laquan McDonald's head. The police department and the mayor's office and the prosecuting attorney all had this footage. They also had the police officers went to the local McDonald's who had more footage of the scene, and they deleted it. It's like close to an hour's worth of footage that had been deleted from the Burger King cameras, their surveillance. They called up the general manager. They got permission from him to go in there, and apparently there was some young folks who were intimidated by the police department. They allowed them to come in. They deleted the footage. The prosecuting attorney, the mayor's office, the chief of police, all were complicit in this video that came out last week, not being made public for a year. Basically, it was like 400 days, over a year. The mayor, of course, we know was up for re-election last year. We're going to talk about whether that played into this. The prosecuting attorney, the police chief, all were complicit. So I want to lay this onto the floor. Brother King Salam Calfani, I want you to jump in here first. What's your thoughts, man? I mean, my personal opinion, and I'll say more, I think this is a very clear example of police and governmental corruption. What say you?
I concur with your analysis, bruh, and it's really just more of the same. One thing about white supremacy and capitalism, they have been consistent for millenniums, and the issues never change. Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, used to say, we should shed blood one time and be done with it. Because if we continue to deal with issues, the issues will remain for more millenniums. So if it is to be, it is up to we. The onus is on us. We can stop this stuff overnight if we would raise up, stand up, speak up. You know, it's no mystery.
Right.
Know your history.
Right. Big Rule, what's your thoughts, man?
I couldn't have said it better myself. I agree with him completely.
Yeah. I can dig it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Let's talk about the colossal gall that it must take to be the police officer, the police officer peers, the police chief, the prosecuting attorney, the mayor of a town that would have the video that we saw last week and allow it to be hidden for a year. These are the same people who paid off the family. Now, my understanding about Laquan McDonald was that he was awarded the estate, which means he ain't live with his mama, he lived with his grandmama, he lived with his state. But his family got paid. His family got paid because they knew what was on this tape. So, Rube, I want you to jump in here with your ideas or your thoughts with regards to how is it that the police chief and the mayor was able to do this, and these people ain't burned Chicago down, man? Like, what the hell? Seriously.
I mean, I feel like sometimes people on purpose decide not to open the door and look in and see what's going on because either they're afraid of what they might see or what they might hear or what they might learn, and then they'll be forced to do something. I don't understand. I don't understand because I don't live there, and it's clear as day that something's going on.
Well, do you have to live there though? Because
No.
see, let's have that discussion.
Yeah.
Let's have the real discussion. If this is happening in a major city, the third largest city in this country, Chicago. If this happens in Chicago, where the police chief, the prosecuting attorney, and the mayor all saw this video. Let's not play games. We know they saw the video. Like, we know they saw the video.
Oh, yeah.
We know
No
they saw
doubt.
the video. And I would be surprised if everybody's favorite president, Barack Hussein Obama, didn't see the video. I'd be surprised. And let's look at the calendar and see when Attorney General Eric Holder resigned. I'd be surprised if he didn't see the video. So let's talk about that. How many times does this happen in our country where something like this happens, where there's such an obvious cover-up that we never see the light of day in it? Like, we got the light of day because there was a whistleblower who was a dog with a bone who wouldn't let it go. That's how we got a hold of this video. But what if we didn't have that guy? What if we didn't have nobody to say, oh, hell no, we're going to make sure that this gets out?
I mean, we went through with that, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, with our own governor taking money from other people. And then next thing you know, old boy's in jail. His wife's in jail. I mean, it happens on different levels everywhere. It's just so happened in Chicago, it's a little bit bigger than it is in Virginia.
Right.
In Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
And honestly, you know, we've talked about Chicago numerous times on this show.
Yeah, we have.
And different things.
Yeah.
You know, such
We've
as,
even had Chicago residents call in the show to talk about it, yeah.
Such as, why is the gang violence so crazy in Chicago? And police, they do nothing. I mean, what was it, back in the day, or even now with shop owners having to pay, certain people for protection. What makes you think that the police department is not being paid to stay out? I mean, really, let's just. I mean, if we're gonna throw it out on the table.
Nah, I got you. Hey, look, man, you know who you talking to. I got you.
I'm not saying that Chicago is like the worst place on earth. I don't think clearly it's not.
I don't think Chicago is special here, though. I think Chicago is part of a bigger problem. Especially, again, let's look at the calendar. When we looked at the calendar a minute ago, I mentioned how Eric Holder resigned not very long after this video came out. But you know what else was going on right around about that same time? Michael Brown's shooter, Darren Wilson, was about to be charged or not charged with murder for the killing of Mike Brown. And eventually he ended up not being charged, right? Mm-hmm. But imagine if this video had come out during the same time. If you pull up your map, I'm not a Benjamin Banneker type of dude, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn once. You know what I mean? I'm guessing that St. Louis, Ferguson, 3, 4, 5 hours drive away from Chicago. Could you imagine if you would have had St. Louis, let's just say St. Louis, it's Ferguson, but let's just say St. Louis and Chicago going on with this at the same time? That's why. Am I tripping?
No, you're not tripping. And the funny thing is, and we see this all the time, something comes out, just kind of blindsides us. We forget about what just happened. So it's good if something comes out, the police and whomever are involved in the, I don't even know what word to call this, but the shenanigans, when something else comes out, that's good for them, because then it takes their mind off of trying to hide something from us. It's easier for them to go ahead and do that. So we're blinded, we forget all about it, we don't pay attention, and we got something else that's in the limelight that we need to go ahead and discuss. So here comes another shooting. So the last issue, we wouldn't have even known about. If we didn't have anybody to blow the whistle, we'd be SOL. We wouldn't know.
Brother Calfani, what's your thoughts? I mean, as someone who has been on the front lines dealing with these types of situations, what's your thoughts? I mean, what do you think?
Again, the consistency of white supremacy and capitalism. I mean, this is par the course. It is the standard. It is status quo. If it is to change, it is up to us. All we need is constant political education. We need organization. We have more organizations than any people on the planet. Less than 1% of our people are active participants in any organization fighting for our liberation. We don't care. Brothers were mad about Trayvon not because Zimmerman killed him, because we ain't smoking. Self-hate, man. We've been taught these things. We believe the lie. It's time to defy the lie of white supremacy and African inferiority. I mean, it's no secret what the deal is. Tom Burrell, who wrote the book Brainwash, said we've been deluged by a tsunami of negative images, and we believe them. You know, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. We have no life-sustaining institutions, food, clothing, water, shelter. We need an entity to inculcate into current and future generations of African people our African ideology, our culture, and it needs to be done in perpetuity forever. You know, build an empire, not watch that garbage. And until we are as consistent as the media, which is the greatest tool against all humanity, you know, the shiggity will continue.
No, I can dig it.
Yeah, brother, it gets me heated. And I've really had to learn. In fact, I'm in emotional emancipation healing circles that was started by the Association of Black Psychologists and the Community Healing Network, because it's painful to intake all this trauma. We suffer from post-traumatic enslavement. We suffer from menticide, the deliberate and systematic destruction of a group's minds, with the ultimate aim being the extirpation or extermination of the group. We got the miseducation of the Negro. We suffer from all these maladies, yet we walk around pretending. We wear the damn mask that grins and lies. Because we scared. If you're scared, say you're scared. Get your scared tail out the way.
Yeah.
For those of us who ready for revolution.
Yeah. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. I'm glad that you put it that way, because, it's difficult to follow that oratory because it's so powerful, but it's so wise, because oftentimes you see our brothers and sisters who will talk a good game. They'll go on social media and places like that, and they'll say all of these great things, and they'll type all of these great things, but then when asked about what their next step is, or what are they going to do, there is no action behind it. And I think when we show as a community that we're not interested in taking this thing anymore, that is when we'll start seeing these things start to shift and change. And I think the first thing we need to do is figure out a way where we can work together. We need to work together, and we need to band together and kind of cast out of our neighborhoods those who are not there for us. If you look back, in previous generations, you will find that when we were separate but equal, we had a whole lot of great things that went on in our neighborhoods, because if I needed my hair cut, I went to Brother Calfani. And if I needed to get some food, I went to my sister D. And if I went to get something from the hardware store, I went to Big Rube. And, if I needed something else, I went to SY. Like, we had everything we needed in our own neighborhoods. Because we had to.
Yeah,
we had to
put that pressure on us. We had to do it, and so as soon as they took their foot off the gas, we ran chasing after unknown gods and unknown people. In fact, W.E.B. Du Bois said, "We have accepted enslavement, segregation, second-class citizenship, etc., just to be considered an American." The truth being told, man, we worship whiteness. We really want to be white, man.
You know what's funny that you say that? I'm so glad you said that. You know why? I'm so glad you said that, because when I say in this room, on this mic, that black people, and I'll say we because I'm a black person. I'm not going to say we because I'm this person. I'm going to say we as black people. Black people scared of white people, man. And it pisses me off. It pisses me off.
Dr. Bobby Wright will tell you, we are trained to kill and hate one another.
Yeah.
But we are trained to respect, worship, and even assimilate, accommodate whiteness, because it was reward and punishment. It's no secret. Ricky Gray is going to electric chair or
with next month for the year.
Because he killed the Harveys. And so this has been in effect from times immemorial, and again we have the ability to change this thing overnight if we would but say it's on. It's really on, and it's not anything instantaneous. It take a lot of hard work, study, constant political education, organization. That's what Brother Teray, organization.
Right.
And they stay up and plot and plan what they're going to do.
Right.
And we watch the Soul Train Music Awards.
You know, it's funny that you say that. Ain't no half stepping on Marcus J. For those folks wondering the Ricky Gray reference, Ricky Gray was a black dude who killed the Harvey family. It's a white family, and it was a black family that he also killed that same weekend. I can't remember their names, unfortunately, but if you look up the Harvey killings in New Year's Day 2006, I believe it was, Richmond, Virginia, you'll be able to get the reference our brother is referencing. But again, I mean, I agree that black folk basically think that white folks' ice is colder. Yes. It really does come down to that. And you know, it's cultural conditioning. Our brother Joe Madison says that we are culturally conditioned to believe that white is right, and the manifestation of that is that we are marginalized, underestimated, you know, in our communities, and we partly do it to ourselves. You know, I always say that, you know, if I could put up a post, I give you a perfect example. Okay. I give you a perfect example. I'll pull up my own Facebook wall right now, real time. I put up posts that said earlier today, I put up a post that said anybody want to respond to this, and I forwarded a post from Tim Wise. A lot of folks don't know who he is. I'll give you a little hint. You're going to hear from Tim Wise in our next break. Then you'll know who he is. For now, look him up. Then you'll know what you're about to hear. If I put up posts where I'm talking about empowering our people, if I put up posts where I'm saying things that are shrouded in black supremacy and empowerment, I don't get a whole lot of love.
Nope, you sure won't.
But I put a post up 5 minutes before we went live. And I'll show you, brother. It was a picture of Carl Weathers, Sylvester Stallone, and Michael B. Jordan. Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Balboa, and Michael B. Jordan, Adonis Johnson, who is the son of Apollo Creed in the new Creed movie, which is a spinoff of the Rocky movies. I put that post up about 10 minutes before we went live, and I got over 20 people that's liked it. I got a couple of people that's already commented on it already. And so why are we more concerned with pop culture and more concerned with things that, yeah, they excite us, and yeah, it's cool. I mean, I saw the Creed movie and I enjoyed it. I thought it was the best movie I seen this year. And I'm a Rocky guy. I'm that guy that I named my dog Rocky when I was 10. Like I'm a Rocky guy. But it ain't that serious. So why do we do this? That's why. Why do we do this? Big Rule. Why do we do this? Why do we?
Because it's something we're not supposed to know. You know, anything that's fascinating or entertainment, then we go ahead and do it. But if it's something that we really should know, you know, it's like weighing heavy on our heads. Do we have to do it? It's like homework. We don't want to do it. We do it to ourselves. But we don't want to do it. Mm-mm.
Big Rule, why do we do it, man?
It's funny. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. In my section, we'll talk about a couple pop culture because, to me, I find most pop culture funny. However, I can honestly say I also don't ignore what's in front of me. You know, it's one thing to indulge in the pop culture and then don't see anything else. But then I like to think that I see a little bit more than just that. So, you know, need to hit us up, 804-402-2893. You know, what are your opinions? Do you think that, you know, we as a people are just simply, I don't want to say hypnotized because I think that's not what we're looking at, but you know, that might not be a bad word.
You know,
I mean, feel free to give us a call, hit us up on Facebook, but definitely 804-402-2893. We really want to hear what you have to say. I mean, we can listen to ourselves talk, but when it's all said and done, you know, we can talk, but if you're not hearing, then we just talking.
Yeah, no, I can dig it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. I wanted to ask a very controversial question. If you know me, if you listen to the show, you know I don't really care about controversy. I welcome it. I'm not interested in being politically correct. I'm going to always be respectful, but I'm not interested in being politically correct. And so I'm going to ask the question. What is the biggest threat to Americans? Is it the conservative right winger, or is it the Muslim in our country? Obviously, you know why I'm going to ask that question, but I'm going to make it plain. We know that last week, right here in America, you had a man, 57-year-old Robert Louis Deere, went into Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs, basically because he disagrees with abortion, and he went in there and he shot it up. He also killed a police officer, killed 2 other people, one being a black man who is a Desert Storm, or I believe he was definitely a veteran. I think it was Desert Storm, but he was a veteran. And he shot like 9 other people. After a standoff, he was taken alive. When we know that Laquan McDonald in Chicago was a 17-year-old who they say was high on PCP, who had a knife, who was walking away from police, who was not taken alive. If you watch the news, not just Fox, because it's easy to just put it on Fox, because they full of stuff that I'll say in the second hour. First hour, try to keep it clean. They full of that. But other news networks do it. CNN, MSNBC, your locals, they will all let you believe that if you are someone that supports Islam, or if you are someone who says bring the Syrians here, if you are someone who has no issues with Islam, then you are part of the problem. It's almost like 100 years ago or 50 years ago, if you were a white person who was sympathetic to the black man, they called you an N-word lover. It was almost kind of like that. And so let's talk about it. What is the deal? What is the biggest? Brother Calfine, I want you to answer this one first. We're going to take this around the room. I want you in on this one first. In your opinion,
Yeah,
just one man's opinion.
That's
one man's opinion. What is the bigger threat? And before you say anything, and before anybody says anything, I got numbers that answers that question. What is the biggest threat in America?
Capitalism, white supremacy. We got to stay consistent. There's no such thing as a terrorist. The only terrorists in the USA are the FBI and the CIA. The only solution is the African Revolution. Really, the terrorists are those who we already know. They're right here. They aren't coming from other places. In fact, September 11th was an inside job. We didn't go to the moon. The Gulf of Tonkin didn't happen to start the Vietnam War. You know, America has the most politically ignorant and backward people on the planet, and arrogant in our backwardness and ignorance. We fall for the okie doke every time. All this Paris stuff and other stuff, inside jobs, Mossad, FBI, CIA, and other counterintelligence agencies, the NSA. You know, and it's really, all you have to do is do a real analysis of what goes down, man. These things go down to keep us in terror, to allow Patriot Acts 1, 2, 10, 12, 14, 16, and we'll give up rights and our liberty because they scare us to death. The boogeyman is coming.
You know, it's funny you use that word, because I was taken to task by a Christian white conservative for using the word, or the phrase I should say, the Muslim boogeyman. Because to me, that's what he is. If you are someone that's in another country that's blowing up stuff in another country, as opposed to what's going on here in our country, the last Muslim inflicted domestic terroristic act that I can think of, and that's just me, was what went down in Fort Hood in 2006, where the guy snapped on the military base and he shot up a bunch of people. Now, if someone could tell me something since 2006, then I'll be more than willing to discuss it with you. But I could tell you several white Christian American right wingers that done some crazy stuff since then. And all we got to do is look at last Friday as the most recent one. We can go back to the the shooting also, I believe, in Colorado, where the dude shot up Batman. We can talk about the Sikh temple. We can talk about the school shootings and all that kind of stuff. Though terrorism is perpetuated by Muslims and it receives a disproportionate amount of attention from politicians and reporters, the reality is that right-wing extremists pose a much greater threat to people in the United States than terrorists connected to ISIS or similar organizations, as UNC Professor Charles Kuzman and Duke Professor David Shanzer explained last June in the New York Times. Islam-inspired terror attacks accounted for 50 fatalities over the past 13 and a half years, while right-wing extremists averaged 337 attacks per year in the decade since 9/11, causing a total of 254 fatalities. I'm getting that from thinkprogress.org, an article from there. And so that's why I want you to jump in here, because we got a lot of people who will walk around telling you that you need to be afraid of Muslims. You need to be afraid of the sister in 3/4 because she just might have a bomb under her jacket. You need to be afraid of the dark-skinned brother with beard because he might have a bomb in his shoe, as opposed to the white dude that you might see in Wally World who might have a gun in his hip, who might shoot it up, or he might decide to shoot up a military recruiting place like they did this past July.
I don't care what anybody say. I definitely agree with your numbers. I will be more afraid of the man next door because I don't know him. I don't know what's happening, or I don't know the people elsewhere, but I fear that one next to me a hell of a lot more than I would fear somebody that far away from me. Those are the ones who can get to us the quickest, and to me, really, the more dangerous. So I'm not really concerned or afraid of, I would say, more than. I would be afraid either way, but I would definitely be more afraid of the man down the block or my next door neighbor.
Teach.
Nah, I mean, Rube, when I read those numbers, this is not my opinion. I just read numbers. I just read numbers. It's not my opinion. My opinion is, because I'm not a person that's based in religion. You know, religion is not my base. And so I respect it, but I can think of it rationally. And I know that Christians have been known to be the most murderous people in recorded history. You know, while we were swinging from trees, they was doing it in the name of God. You know, and as they're saying, kill this N-word in the name of Jesus, we saying, oh, Jesus, save us. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to know why it is that, and I'll say we, because I live here. I'm an American. I'm not always proud to be, but I'm an American. I want to know why we as Americans are so quick to absolve Christians of their heinous history and some of the nastiest, most criminal things that they have done. But when we look at a Muslim, we don't want to ride on an airplane with them. We don't want to be in a store with them. We don't want them in our gun shop. We as black people ought to know better, because that's the stuff they did to us. So, I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just asking your opinion. I get fired up when I send it to people. So just take the mic from me before I say much more. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Amos Wilson, may he rest in peace, said, for this system to operate as it does, the masses of humanity must literally be out of our minds. Boom.
Boom.
Wow. You know, it's funny. We're talking about this, and I can't believe I'm about to do this right now. But this reminds me of a rap lyric that I will not exactly
spit it.
I will not exactly say what it was said, but I think it gets across the point very well. And unfortunately, I can't believe I'm repeating this from Lil' Kim, at the very least.
You about to quote Lil' Kim, yo?
Paraphrase Lil' Kim.
Okay.
She says, first you get the money, and then when you get the money, you get the power. And with that power, that's when you make people respect you. Now, the funny part about that is 20 years, well, not 20 years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, you know, if you were between the ages of 16 and 25, you could probably spit that verse consistently. However, they really didn't know what it means. But she pretty much told us what it means. And hey, the people that you fear are the people who have the money, because those people with the money can use that money to get the power that they need, and then with that power they can use that against you, you know. And then unfortunately there are some people who allow that to happen, so then that power is used against them. That in to answer your question, what you say, is it this person or that person? To me, I think that answers it all, because it's all about who has the power, you know? Because once you have the power, then, I mean, who's left to stop you? And if this one group has all the power because they have all the money, then you either respect them or they will roll over you.
Right.
And it's that simple.
Right. Now, what do we do? I mean, you know, as far as solutions, I mean, I want to close this segment out. We're going to move on to some other stuff. But, and so if you listen and you want to get in on this, now is the time to call us. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial if you want to be a part of this discussion before we move on. 804-402-2893. What's our solution? I mean, for me, I'll go first. For me, the solution is economic empowerment, group economics. We as a community decide that we're going to learn to trust one another. We're going to learn to support one another. You're going to push me and I'm going to pull you, and we're going to work together. Because ultimately, when we had our biggest successes, that's what we did. You know, all of this marching and stuff that folks like to do, I mean, I can dig it. I mean, but in 2015, when you're using a 1955, 1965 model, I'm not sure that it's going to work. Like if I'm at the crib right now and I want to listen to Money, Power, and Respect, which was the Lil' Kim, you know, song that you just quoted, is a lock song. I just played a little bit of it behind. If I want to listen to that, I'm going to play the CD, play the MP3, or blast that joint, right? I ain't going to play it on an 8-track.
Nah.
I'm not going to play it on an 8-track because it ain't going to work. That's why I ain't going to play it on an 8-track. And so if in 2015, if I have access to a think tank of folks who can come up with greater ideas and greater methods, then we need to go with that. We don't need to be going with the ideas and methods that was being done in 1965. And while I respect the Justice or Us movement that Minister Farrakhan led just 2 months ago in D.C., I made a point of not going. You know why? Because I wasn't trying to spend all the money it would have took for me to get there, all the money it would have took for me to be there and be comfortable to march against a situation in a town that I'm mad at, but I'm spending money in, when all I know, what I know about how today is, all we had to do is send a tweet, put a Facebook post. And if folks really, really serious about exacting change, then we can exact change based upon that. So I'm going to wear my sneakers out, and you ain't talking to somebody who ain't been there, because I marched with Farrakhan. Been there, done that. I marched with Al Sharpton. Been there, done that. Marched with Jesse Jackson. Been there, done that. I ain't old enough to march with Dr. King. Sorry. I'm only 41. But you understand what I'm saying. Been there and done that. So what we going to do? Are we really going to show up in the town? Because, see, that was 2 months ago. Anything different? Did y'all know? I think I just cut the mic off.
Nope.
Well, you know, it's funny.
There we go. Sorry. Cut my mic off. I was so excited to cut my own mic off. Big bro.
It's funny how people take things and they decide they want to make a statement. Right. And I don't know how many times we've said on this program, the best way to make a statement is economically. And it just so happens that apparently some people, I don't know who, I can't speak on who, but Black Friday lost a ton of money
Billion.
this year.
1.7 billion, I think, was the number.
Yeah, $1 billion.
Aw.
So if people, regardless of your race, creed, color, ethnicity or whatever, can cost big business $1 billion, and you mean people can't sit here and shut down something else because they don't want to? It doesn't make sense to me. $1 billion? $1 billion. $1 billion stayed in people's pockets this weekend.
Wish it was.
And you mad that Denny's don't treat us right, yet you go back and eat at Denny's.
Dummy.
Why can't we shut down Denny's? And I refer to something that happened years ago when they didn't treat some black people right or whatever. And, they got flack, but they're still in business. The whole Chick-fil-A situation. I understand people got a voice, but if you own a multi-billion-dollar business, there's just some things you shouldn't say. People didn't shut that down. Oh, gotta get your Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Get that chicken on.
I mean, it's crazy for people not to believe that financially we can do some work here if they choose to do work here. I mean, as Margaret said, economically, we got to take care of ourselves. And if we can't take care of ourselves, we don't have a chance. But clearly, somebody did something this weekend.
Yeah. No, I can dig it, man. I 100% agree with you. You nailed it. Because ultimately, the power lies in the dollar. The only language that these people understand is money. It's that simple.
I agree with all of you, and I would add, while you do the economics, we need the constant political education. Marching is effective to bring attention to issues, and all of these things are just different vehicles that you bring to the party to take us where we want to go. Organizations are vehicles. If we don't like the organizations that currently exist, our responsibility is to create the organization that will take us where we need to go. All of them have a place, and like we said, less than 1% of our people actively participate. So we need the people. That's all we need. An organization will get us the people. We do a lot of mobilization. We'll come out for events, especially if so-called celebrities say so. That's why we went to Gina. That's why Trayvon we wearing Skittles and iced tea stuff. When celebrities tell us we are celebrity-driven people, we have what I call vicarious delusion. We live vicariously and delusionally through the lives of so-called celebrities who don't even know we exist. Mm-hmm. My team. You don't stop. You don't have a team. We are each other's team. And until we get loyalty like we do to misnamed mascots. In Richmond, the Richmond Baseball Initiative was going to name the current squirrels the ham bones. And the mascot was going to be either Flavor Flav or a straight slave. And everybody was acting like that was all right. I had a news conference, and before I got to the Diamond to have my news conference, they took the name out of the equation. They were having a contest. And so they had an indigenous person, so-called Indian, looking sneakily outside of the Diamond for 3 decades. Nobody said anything. This is where it all began, right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is where in 1661 our chattel enslavement was codified into law. This was the breeding state. You know, cotton doesn't grow from Petersburg up. We were the cash crop. Outside of New Orleans, this was the place where the Europeans became the richest gentry on the planet, because they bred and sold us down the Trail of Tears, down to Natchez and New Orleans. You know, we are the only people with this story. Most Africans went to South America and Central America. The fewest came here, and we whining the damn most. We got work to do, and I really think, and this is just my thoughts, that you're either born with it or you're not. We aren't transforming people. I was born with it. We like to call it the curse of Ham. I tried to leave y'all alone, man. And African people have told me, leave us alone, Celine. They told me, leave the white man alone. The sisters in college, when Star and Buck Wild were around here calling everybody B's and H's and N words, and the young sisters told me, they would call and say, look, he not calling me a B, he talking about those B's. So let me take your old tail used to be self out to lunch and show you what time it is. The people been telling me and showing me for 5 decades they don't want to be free, and they damn sure didn't give a damn about me. But it is what it is. We have to keep moving, man. I'm not, it's a popularity contest, and you know it's a lonely, lonely road to be a conscious, critical thinking African, man. Even in your own families, they used to mock me and call me Abdul and all kind of names. And you know, it's a hurting thing. You know, let me tell what my beloved mother told me once. We were in Chicago. My nephew was graduating. I have a cousin named Megan. And so this white photographer just fell in love with her name. So we were discussing, and I said, he likes the name because it's a European name. And my mother told me, well, you have a child and you name your child Booga Booga. I didn't have a child at that time, but shortly thereafter I had my first child, whose name was Queen Nzinga, who gave it to the Portuguese for over 40 years. My next child is Usa Ma'at Rasa Steppin Rara Mesu Mariam and Karfan. And so even today, that's his 9th birthday, she had to call asking me I speak to the Sultan, which means the king. But we're so sick, man, that the people who hurt us the most are the ones we love the most. My mother used to tell me, them Negroes gonna kill you. Get you a 3-pack of drawers, you give 2 of them away. You're born with it or you ain't. You love your people or you don't. And we need to call it out. It is what it is. It's a painful, hurting thing, man, to be, we the dregs of all the planet. Get no respect. We living in the worst and most squalid conditions in human history. And we cool. We chilling. We wear that mask that grins and lies and acts like shiggity is cool, and it ain't. And so it's hard for those of us who are conscious, man. It's hard, man. It's painful, and the enemy makes us pay. Paying, man. Paying a heavy price. I'm almost 6 decades, man. And them Europeans say, we don't have to do a damn thing. Your own people will destroy you. That's what time it is. So that's why people aren't gravitating towards the struggle. Look what they did. Brother Malcolm, Marcus, all the M's, Medgar, Martin, all of us, they destroyed us, man. And our own people ostracized us because we want to curry favor with our destroyers. And so that's what it is. We're cowards. We have, as Kiari T.H. Cheatwood said in his great book, The Race, we have become a race of cowards. That's why sisters don't respect us. How they gonna respect us? We can't protect them. We don't respect them. We treat them like, what do we call them? We're the only people on the planet who say that kind of filth for the world to hear about our women and our children. That's why I apologize very humbly on behalf of critical thinking African men for the harm I've done to African women and girls, and to the harm I've done to African men and boys. Because that's what we're trained to do. And until we build those institutions, constant political education, and learn knowledge of self, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was right. Go to Kemet. Stop going to Paris, Negroes. Go to ancient Kemet and see the books written in stone. We don't take a back seat to any damn body. And that's what they know. That's why the threat is for us to know. Because when you know better, you do better. Boom.
That's true.
And you know how Steppin with Marcus J. I got nothing to say behind that. We're going to take a break. We come back. Our sister SY is going to take it over. She's got our segment. We're going to have a word about white supremacy. Very, very apropos, following our brother King Salim Kalfani. You know how Steppin with Marcus J. Be back in a minute.
Because if you know the history of the whole concept of whiteness, if you know the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason, you know that it was a trick, and it's worked brilliantly. See, prior to the mid to late 1600s in the colonies of what would become the United States, there was no such thing as the white race. Those of us of European descent did not refer to ourselves by that term really ever before then. In fact, in the old countries of Europe, we had spent most of our time killing each other. We didn't love each other. We weren't one big happy family. The side of my family that comes from Scotland, hell, they didn't even worry about fighting people outside of Scotland. Highlanders and lowlanders just fought the hell out of each other. So there was no white race, but in the colonies of what would become the United States, what did we see in the 1660s, 1670s? We began to see that Africans of indentured servant status, many of them not enslaved yet, they were not necessarily permanently enslaved. Some were, others were indentured, like many poor Europeans, for periods of 7 to 11 years. They could work off their indenture, and then they would be free labor, technically. Realized, as did the white indentured servants, the Europeans who hadn't even been called white yet, that they had a lot of things in common, like the fact that they were all getting their clock cleaned by the elite. And so they would get together more than our history books taught us, to foment rebellion against the elite, to try to get a better deal for themselves on the basis of economic necessity and economic justice. And what did the elite do? When you see that you're outnumbered by black and white folks who are penniless, landless, peasants, you have to do one of two things. You either have to kill them all, but you can't do that because who's going to work? Rich folks weren't going to. They had to get poor people to work. The whole point was to be a person of leisure back in those days. That was the goal, was not to work. So you couldn't